All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride, you've got nothing to lose.
All right, welcome to the KissFAQ Lounge. We're going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary of the filming of MTV Unplugged, which was, of course, wasn't released as an album until the following March, but we're going to be digging into that. We've got Marcus Almighty, Mark.
Greetings.
Lonnie fought his way through the spinning wheel of purgatory to join us.
I did a little setting updating. We're back.
Yep, I knew that would be happening. Daniel Wees. Hi. And hopefully the voice of reason will be joining us right now. He is tardy, demerit points. Before we get into MTV Unplugged, I want to first of all thank everyone who's joining us live. Max, Ronnie Parker, Joey Dammit, Austin Newlands, Justin Hell. I'm in hell all week this week. Jeff Davidson, Kiss Rocks 57, and anyone who's not chimed in on the live chat. Do feel free to contribute your comments as we go along, as that's a big part of the show, and we do appreciate your participation. Before we get started with MTV Unplugged at 30, Refocused, just a little bit of news. Two sad headlines this week is the passing of Fritz Postlethwaite, who was tour manager, worked for Coin Management in the 70s, a very large part of the story of Kiss behind the scenes for the work and his contributions to the group, both on and off the road. So condolences to his wife and loved ones on his passing. Also very sad is the passing of a Canadian music man, Nick Panaseco, promoter of early Kiss shows in Canada. Just again, a very important part of the Canadian music scene as a promoter, and there's a lot more about him. Mark, you know who he was without me defining him?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, the name is familiar, but I don't know what he's done as far as concerts that he's booked. So
Google him. Very interesting for early 70s in particular, but his story with Kiss is one of, obviously Canada was a big part of early Kiss in 74. Bill Aucoin finally getting some professional recognition with his induction into the Personal Managers Hall of Fame. May not be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but recognition is recognition, and he's being recognized for his, obviously, role with Kiss, and particularly Billy Idol, who he brought from Gen X into solo success for the early part of his solo career. So very nice to see. It's about time he got a little bit more publicity than he gets. And then we've also got the virtual reality Madison Square Garden 2023 is apparently currently being mixed by Kiss's favorite producer of recent years, Greg Collins. For what that means, unknown, undetermined, but it means that something. And in 2025, when it comes to Kiss, any something is a good something until you know what the something actually is. And I'm sure that won't stop anyone from debating avatars, VR, but there's not enough information just from that little blurb. But at least someone is working on something. So go Team Greg, right? Yes. Finally, before we go with MTV Unplugged, a personal thank you. Mask Hysteria Revisited is sold out. So Elaine and I thank you all very much for your support of this project and all of our projects. And that will be shipping at the end of the month. So keep an eye out on his Facebook page. And of course, I will post on the FAQ. Very much appreciated how quickly that did sell out. And it is a smaller print run, so a bit more exclusivity than the original printing. So, all right. MTV Unplugged. We'll be talking about the filming, about the release of the album, but let's just get started with, as we always do, our initial thoughts of the album, the event, and what it meant to us at the time. Mark, why don't you get us started?
Well, I clearly remember this time. My friend, who I mentioned quite a few times, Ted, who's a diehard fan, he restarted my Kiss Fire, as it were, for the band itself. We went over to his house one evening and we watched Unplugged. I think it might have actually been on Much Music when we watched it. But I remember when I watched it, I was just absolutely blown away by it because Kiss has always been known to be, a down and dirty rock band, and to hear them playing stuff, in a sort of acoustical sense was fantastic. And just the performances that they did of those songs were great. I mean, and a lot of those songs that they played went up in my stature. Like some of the songs I've long had forgotten about were now front and center again because of these performances that they did during the MTV Unplugged.
Awesome. Lonnie, what about you? Going back to the earlier part of your Kiss fandom, I guess.
Definitely. I didn't know that it was happening in August of '95. I just turned 16, and there really is no internet for in 1995. I didn't know it was happening. I knew the convention tour was happening, and it was cool. And I didn't go to the convention in St. Louis because, again, I just turned 16, and it was $100, and that was a lot of freaking money, and much less to find someone to go with me for $100.
Yeah.
So I didn't go. It was out of my price range. So I was aware of it. Again, the convention tour happening, and I was at a friend's house. I think it was maybe the weekend before Halloween in 1995, and we're watching, I don't know, probably Beavis and Butthead on MTV. I mean, think at the time of 1995, and there was a commercial for Kiss MTV Unplugged Halloween night, and I'm like, no way, that's awesome. And my friends are like, what? Kiss? I'm like, oh yeah, you guys crazy? Yeah, Kiss is awesome. And they're like, whatever, dude. Like, you listen to that? I'm like, oh yeah. So Halloween night comes, and I'm watching in my parents' basement, just watching it and loving every minute of it as it's going. And I'm talking to my girlfriend on the phone as it's going on. And I mean, I've told the story on here before, and they bring out Ace and Peter, and I just lost it, just screamed. I couldn't believe that what I was watching and it was happening, and it was just the innocence of the time of it. I mean, it had happened a couple months earlier, but I didn't even know, it was just such an innocent reaction. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And she's just like, I what is the big deal? I'm like, you have no idea how big of a deal this is.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I talk about my love for Revenge and the Revenge lineup, but I think that night it really just propelled my Kiss fandom to a different stratosphere with MTV Unplugged. So, but we'll get into that as we go today.
Yeah, I was in Scotland at the time when this came out, and I remember going into Glasgow to pick up the album. I was just so excited that it was happening, having followed the tour and started to get some of the audience recordings that were coming through. I was really excited to hear what was going to be a real deal. I didn't get to see the broadcast because we didn't have suitable MTV, and being on Kiss Army Online on AOL. It was just hearing all the excitement from the night, hearing the excitement, of the reunion from fans who were there, living vicariously through them. I was really excited by the prospects of the little reunion with Peter and Ace. I was really excited that we'd be getting a decent recording, both film and audio, of an unplugged set. So I hated going into Glasgow. I lived down in Greenock, so I didn't go there when I didn't have to, and it was well worth it, going to get that album. Daniel, another European perspective, MTV Unplugged, your thoughts back at the time?
Yeah, the first time I got to understand that they were going to broadcast this, I was doing I guess you would say, the national military service. I was a sniper in the Swedish army, and I was probably out in the woods crawling around looking for enemies that weren't there. The Russians. I remember being out cold in the winter. We had to be up as guards, and they were driving by with cars and showing posters of Russian tanks, and we were supposed to report in what it was. Well, it's MTV, yeah. And by that time, so I couldn't get to a TV. I was out in the field, doing that crazy stuff. But I had a friend in the town, in the city where I did the military service, and I begged him to record the airing of MTV Unplugged. It aired on MTV Europe, so he did that for me, and I remember watching that one and being blown away. First of all, that Kiss got to do it, because it was only the bands in vogue at the time that did those concerts, like Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and Alice in Chains, and then you got to know that Kiss is going to do it. So my mind was blown. And when I watched the concert for the first time, the quality of the playing from Kulick, Singer, Simmons, and Stanley was just amazing. And on the other hand, you said that you were so excited about Peter and Ace. I was kind of the opposite. It was such a great concert until Peter and Ace entered, and at the time I didn't think they played on the same level as Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick. So that wasn't a height for me, but the show in all was such a great performance, and I was taken aback because the songs sounded so great. And I have to say, it has to be one of Paul Stanley's greatest vocal performances ever, from start to finish. So it was just all smiles watching that concert.
All right, Voice of Reason. This would have been your your third live album from Kiss, released at the time you were a fan. Live 2, Live 3, and then MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
How did you receive it?
I received it quite well, because I was waiting for. Well, I was lucky enough to see them on the convention tour. So I knew what that was all about, and that they were doing that thing, the Unplugged stuff. And then when I heard they were going to be on MTV Unplugged, I thought, oh, this is going to be good. I was surprised, actually, that MTV allowed them to even be on there. So it happened on Halloween night, I remember. And I know I told this story before, but I remember getting my VHS tape ready and putting it in there to record the thing, especially because it was Halloween and I had to run back and forth to the door to hand out candy to the kids. I'm like, please, no more kids, please. I'm trying to watch this thing. So I was like running back and forth. But it was an exciting time that they were finally going to do something like that and get on there. And it was I can't remember if it was really a surprise that Peter and Ace were going to be there. I can't remember if I heard some rumors, or there was rumors at the time going on. And then they came out. I was so happy to see that. In a way, I was scared. I was like, oh shoot! I hope they don't mess up. They just do a great job. So, but everything turned out well. And when they, it was only obvious that they released the Unplugged CD and I guess a little bit of vinyl at the time. I had one of them because they were releasing the other Unplugged performances that were coming out. The other artists did before them. So I was happy that they'd captured that because it was a truly great performance.
Yeah, and Unplugged at that time had, kind of changed from the original 30-minute slot. Aerosmith only got 30 minutes.
Was that right?
Yeah, the format had changed over the years to become more than it was, and it was quite a battle to get Kiss on MTV Unplugged. Now, just one thing, Daniel took some shots at Ace and Peter there, and as a defender of the originals at all time, I'd just like to say Kiss had been on tour since June or since February doing acoustic sets, and Ace and Peter hadn't been doing acoustic. So
yeah, and that
Kiss
was
as a
pretty
band,
evident. That was pretty,
they were much more comfortable with the acoustic concept.
Yeah.
They'd been doing it. Now Ace and Peter were doing a little acoustic bit in the middle of their show together during that tour, but certainly not to the level that Kiss were performing with Bruce and Eric. So I'm not defending it and saying that you're wrong. I'm simply saying that there were two different cases of acoustic coming into this. And if we look at some of the rehearsals, they started on the 5th rehearsing, and there was very little of these rehearsal times with Ace and Peter versus mainly working out. Every time I look at you was the vast majority of that rehearsal during those 4 days leading in. So there was a much more limited time that Ace and Peter were rehearsing with the band, and they still had to do a lot of rehearsal to get what they got out of that.
But Julian had to put it in there because Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick, Paul and Gene, that was my band. Whenever you
Right.
you feel that, wow,
That was the band.
my guys are going to get replaced, you're kind of, you're not feeling that happy about it.
Yeah, we didn't know at the time. I mean, for all of us who
No,
became
but-
fans in the 80s, this was a highlight of what was the current lineup. And to a certain extent, Ace and Peter were just like an added attraction at the carnival.
Yeah.
It was rumored, it was hinted at, but and then of course the next logical step was to start, a reunion going to happen, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. So again, Ace and Peter had just been doing an off the cuff acoustic session during their
What
tour.
songs did they play? Hard Luck Woman?
I don't even remember off the top of my head. I didn't have time with everything else we've been looking into to prepare for the show. All right, so this is a Refocused episode, which means that we brought scores and Julian math into the equation. And instead of the way that we normally judge each one of the songs on this, we're looking at it from two particular perspectives. First is the acoustic treatment and arrangement of the song, and two is the performance. Each one of those get 5, best out of 5 points, and then taste obviously remains. Don't like, don't care, and do like for 3 points. So we'll be going through each one of those. To get started, we'll go through the rankings for the album itself, and we have an assortment of categories to talk about here. Just generally across the album, it's production, the cohesiveness. So let's just start with those two. Lonnie, the production and the cohesiveness of the songs that feature on MTV Unplugged.
I'm going to sound like a broken record today because I absolutely love MTV Unplugged. I don't have many bad things at all to say about it. But as far as, I'm just looking up my rankings, my production and cohesiveness, I gave them both a 5, a perfect score, because
Correct.
I don't think this album could sound any better. I mean, I listened to it multiple times this week, and we always sing its praises on here, but I listened to it this week and I'm like, damn, like everything we ever say about MTV Unplugged is spot on because it is so well done. And the performance of the band, and I'm going to echo Daniel, especially when the Revenge lineup, and I'm a Revenge apologist, but when that Revenge lineup is playing, and yeah, they had been playing for months doing these shows, and they were very well polished by the time they got to New York to do MTV Unplugged. Damn, is it good, and damn, is that band tight. And but as far and for the production and the cohesiveness, I think the album just flows very well. There's no really ups and downs in the album. I think it's here the whole time. It's fantastic, and I don't know how it could be much better than what it is.
Mark, what about you?
Well, I mean, I love the album too, just as you guys know, of course. And while I've tried to approach this as strictly a listener, that little guy on the shoulder, the production guy there, always kind of crept in every once in a while and, yelled in my ear. So, but
Here it comes.
but here, the production, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I agree with Lonnie,
Good.
absolutely, that this is fantastic sounding. And don't forget though, the acoustic albums are not easy to do. Because I mean, you're talking about miking an acoustic instrument, and even the slightest movement here and there can change the sound of an instrument. So you have to take a lot of this stuff into account when they were recording stuff. And the way that the fact that it sounded as good as it did is a testament to not only the band, because they have to keep in mind some of these things to do, but it just sounds great. I mean, the engineering of it, everything was fantastic. So that's a definite 5. The cohesiveness, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Not to say that it isn't a good record, but to me, there were a couple of songs in the set list that I just felt they could have replaced it with something better in there. Like, I'll just mention one. I just thought that Domino was sort of a bump in the road in the set list. I just that to me is an electric guitar song, and the acoustic treatment of it just didn't really resonate with me as much as some of the other ones, and I'm sure we'll get to that once we start talking about it. But 4 out of 5 is still not a bad ranking in my opinion.
Ken, Mark just took some shots at Gene.
Of course he did.
And Lonnie's favorite.
That's all right. I understand where he's coming from on that. I kind of agree in a way. So for me, yeah, I agree. Definitely the production is a 5 out of 5. It just sounds freaking great. It's great mix. They just did a great job on it. I played my vinyl version, and that's kind of my go-to version and it sounds really great. I mean, it's just a great sounding record. It sounds like they're in your living room or whatever when it's playing. So it's really well done. As for the cohesiveness, yeah, everything sounds like it should be there. Nothing kind of jumps out at you or anything, production wise or song wise. So much it flows well, and I can't find any flaws at all. So I got 2 5s just like Lonnie.
Yep, a lot of high scores around in this episode, so it's a bit in that way.
It's gonna be interesting.
Daniel.
Yeah, well, production is 5 out of 5. But I have to tip the hat off to MTV. What a great concept, going back to the roots, acoustic guitars and drums and the bass, and doing this, amazing series. I would like to see today's band doing something. But when talking about this album, I kind of listened to a lot of MTV concerts from the Unplugged series, and compared this one with some of the contemporary bands of the day, back in the day, like Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots. And I have to say that I think Kiss's performance is superior to those shows, actually. Kiss did an amazing performance. I mean, the way they interpreted the songs, the way they performed them, I think it's one of the best concerts that MTV ever did in this series. I guess I'm kind of biased, but if you listen to the vocals, for example, from Gene and Paul, I'm not counting Ace's performance here, but Ace and Peter a bit subpar, but Gene and Paul on this album sings the hell out of those songs. And especially a song like that ballad from Creatures of the Night, I Still Love You. That's Paul's best ever. So and they managed to capture it on the record. So 5 out of 5 when it comes to production. Cohesiveness, I'd say 5 out of 5 there as well. Of course, you can have small complaints. I was thinking about Domino as well as Mark did, but on the other hand, it's kind of cool that they put one of those songs in there. A song that you can't really picture how it would sound acoustically, and they did it like a sort of a surprise in the set list. And you can move stuff. I mean, they have so many good songs, so I think it's really an interesting set list. I mean, it's very varied. One would think that there would be like too many ballads and it would become kind of boring, but they managed to have some fast songs like Rock Bottom, and then they play songs like Every Time I Look at You. So I think it's a great mixture of songs, and of course you would have liked to see some of your favorites there, but we all have different favorites, so it's so subjective. So I think this set list is pretty cool. I don't know why they're loved Coming Home suddenly when they started the Unplugged thing and started the show off with that one, but it worked. I never cared for that song until I heard the Unplugged set list. So 2 5s from me.
Yeah, I agree with you about Coming Home. That was a revelation. Hearing it in a completely kind of different context blew my mind. So yeah, I agree with a lot of those comments. Production is perfect. It sounds spectacular. It sounds as good this week listening to it repeatedly as it did then. The uncut, unplugged video sounds fantastic too. So they were working with great material. And I guess we're lucky as Kiss fans that we have access to some of the rehearsals. We have access to the full unplugged, uncut. The Aerosmith one's out there as well. I'm sure there are for others. But we've got a lot of behind the scenes footage and kind of knowledge about how much work went into this. And it really shows in the Coletti brothers were working their asses off during SIR, during the rehearsals, to know how to record this band properly, to know how to present them to the very best of their abilities. And then, of course, the band were working very hard. They'd spent a whole summer touring and playing this shit, but they still really worked their asses off at SIR to make things perfect, to tighten everything, to know that every nuance that in that performance was going to be very important to how it came across. And they wanted to put their best foot forward. Clearly, they cared about this a great deal. Cohesiveness, I gave it 3.75. I knock it down because of a couple songs on there shouldn't be there in place of other things, in my view. Got to Choose only ending up as a bonus track is wrong. Hard Luck Woman being omitted. Yeah, I know it was on Kiss My Ass. Again, a lot of that's down to taste and personal quibbles, and I'm sure everyone's got their own. But to me, it just becomes a little bit too safe. And we'll have some areas of dialogue from the rehearsals, which will illustrate kind of where I'm coming from on that. Let's talk about the album art. Lonnie, how do you rate that?
Poorly. I gave it a 2. I didn't like how it's just a picture of the performance, and I get it, and it's fine. But like Ken showed his vinyl version of it a little bit ago, and it's not even the whole album. It's not. Yeah, there you go. It's not even the whole.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Full part of the album. It's pretty weak for vinyl. And that's why I gave it such a low ranking. I don't care for it. I think they could have done some. I don't know what, but I think it could have been better. I get it that you want to have the 6 of them on there, and that's important. But just like the tilt of it and the way it's presented on vinyl, I didn't care for it. I think it could have been better.
Yeah, you would have thought with the attention to detail in recording this that they would have thought with the attention to detail of how to frame a good photo for the project. Ken, what about you? And thanks for showing up the LP.
You're muted.
You're
Ken.
muted,
Come
Ken.
on.
Classic.
Come on.
Can you,
10
can
years
you
old.
believe that? Anyway, I didn't want you to hear the shrink wrap making noises when I was showing the album. But anyway, I was I wasn't happy with the album cover, especially when it was the CD version, which I actually had first, and it's so small and little, and like that's the best they can come up with for a cover. I think the problem was MTV had input on what you could put as the cover on these albums, so I think they could have done a lot better on the cover. The back is fine. Who cares about the back? It's kind of a collage of pictures, but the front it's kind of I don't know. It's lacking. Packaging though is okay because they had, I think, a lot of pictures and things inside. Plus the what is it? For instance, they have a poster in the vinyl one that I opened. I showed a little bit earlier. Plus they did a yellow version of the vinyl too, beyond the black, normal black one. So that was kind of different. So the packaging was okay. Actually, so what I did is I gave it a cover art packaging 2 overall. It's mostly because of the cover art. They really, I think, missed it on that one.
Yeah. Daniel.
I don't know how much time they had to, create great photo opportunities, because this was done, during a weekend sort of, and then the next day, I think it was, what's his name? Well, there was another artist that was going to do an unplugged, so they were focused on that, the MTV guys. So there was Criss, I think, recorded his MTV Unplugged the next day. If you remember him, he had one hit.
I know Criss.
But if you look at the cover, as Lonnie said, it's 2 out of 5. It's very underwhelming. But if you look at other artists' covers, it's more of the same. Like Nirvana's cover, it's nothing special. And do you actually know which MTV Unplugged record that sold the most?
Clapton?
Yeah, that's correct. Very good.
Was it Clapton?
Eric Clapton. He also has a pretty boring cover. The only cover I've found that I kind of liked is the Alice in Chains cover, because they took some time and made like a cool picture, and MTV Unplugged is not taking up so much space like it did in the Kiss cover. So I would have loved if they could do a photo session on the set, because this looks like a screen dump. I think it is almost a screen dump from the video, from far away, and you need a magnifying glass when you had the CD to see who's who and so on. So too bad they didn't have the time, to find a cool angle and bring all the guys closer together and make a great cover. So this is 2 out of 5.
All right. To someone who actually deals with making album covers for his art, Mark?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I respect obviously all you guys' opinion on whatever. I mean, I gave it a 4 only because of the fact that when I think about it, and Daniel brought up a great point, that this is clearly not in Kiss's hands, this album cover stuff. This is totally MTV's say, because if you look at all the MTV releases from Neil Young, Eric Clapton, Alice in Chains, I mean, there were tons of them that got released. All of them had a similar theme. Even the Neil Young ones. There's a very simple picture of him sitting down with a close up of him with the harmonica thing there in front of him. And to them, they just wanted to show a simple picture of the band in an acoustic environment playing it. I mean, this idea of, getting them all together and having one guy sit closer, so they didn't have time for that. And they weren't going to go and do any of that. They were just going to do a straight picture live from this show, and that's it. And I only gave it a 4 because there's nothing on it that initially bothers me about it. It's just a picture from a live show. And I like Kiss. So for once in my life, instead of thinking of something negative about it and giving it a 2, I decided to give it something a little bit higher. So I gave it a 4 because I think it's just a decent shot. And Lonnie brought up a great point too about the fact that, they needed to have a picture with all 6 of them in there because that was one of the key selling points about it. Because if you think about it, even at that time, with us Kiss fans who did watch it and thought that it was, a great moment with all this happening, most people still weren't too hip on Kiss again and probably didn't even know that this special was on. But if they go to the record store and see a picture with Ace all of a sudden there and Peter Criss, maybe all these other people might come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I'm going to buy this record because it didn't do poorly. Apparently it sold pretty good. I think it was a golden release for them, I think.
Yeah.
So, that definitely helped, showing that those guys were involved in it as well. So I thought it was a decent picture.
Yeah, cover's okay. I gave it 2 just because it's nothing spectacular. I like the poster that I've got on the screen better, and that could easily be squared off by flipping that red thing bottom to the top. I'm getting someone echoing. Daniel, is that you trying to fix your mic?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
You just screwed
really
up.
loud.
Unfix
What
it.
happened?
Undo.
There you go. That's
There
better.
you go.
That's better.
Yeah. Oh, that's better volume-wise as well. So
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
If it ain't broke.
No.
yeah. All right, so the last category for the kind of overall album stuff is the single selection. A split single of Rock and Roll All Night, Every Time I Look at You, was released. As far as I'm concerned, there was no other option. It was going to be Rock and Roll All Night, no matter what, because it's got all 6 members of the group. And Every Time I Look at You is also because they did about 94 rehearsal takes of that and 17 during the actual performance because Paul Stanley wanted to give that song a second bite. I totally get what he was trying to do.
Third bite.
Give it another chance because it completely got ignored when it was released as a single from Revenge. And how many people can immediately visualize what the video to Every Time I Look at You looks like from Revenge? Very few people saw it. So, well, yeah, we can, but we're nerds. So, Ken, single choice. Yay, nay, what would you have done?
I wouldn't have done what they did. Rock and Roll Night.
No, you would have done Domino and Going Blind. Of course, your jeans on.
Right?
I might have
See you
done
tonight.
Line. I might have gone with maybe Sure Know Something, or and I don't know what the other one. Maybe Going Blind on the other side. Every time I look at you, that one, sure, it's a lot better. I think it's better than the version on Revenge, but I still think it's not the greatest of songs. Even though it's a good song, I don't think it's the greatest. I think they had better to choose from. Rock and Roll Night, that already had a couple times of chances. That is on Just to Kill and Alive. They released that single. They may have released it another time before this. I don't know, but I think it's kind of a lazy choice. And I think the other one is Paul. Paul wanted to, like you said, give it another chance on it because he thought it was that good, but it's not that good. I think they could have done something better. The other thing earlier, you were talking about the people, buying this or seeing Kiss who are not Kiss fans. I think a lot of people who caught that are actually, it surprised them how good they actually are, and how good a lot of their songs are. I just was thinking about that because I think one of my sisters, she said, I remember back at the time, she said she really thought that was a great performance, and she's not a big Kiss fan, like me. And she was kind of, I think it surprised her how good they really were. So I think it woke up people who actually got a chance to see that.
Every Time I Look at You has featured on The Charismatic Voice, which is a great vocal analysis coach on.
That.
Lonnie.
I agree with Julian that the single selection is a 5 out of 5. What else are you going to do the hype of this album was Ace and Peter the reunion. Like the hype sticker on it said the Kiss reunion when you bought it. I mean, you had the you had to have Rock and Roll All Night with Ace and Peter as your lead single. And I think it was a no-brainer of a choice. And every time I look at you, I agree with Julian too. They really wanted to push for that song to get a second chance, because obviously Paul really thought a lot of it. And it is a good song, and it just fell short both times. But I enjoyed the song very much, and I enjoy. And I think Rock and Roll Night was the slam dunk as a single too. Like, what else are you gonna pick? I mean, this album came out in March, and April 15th we get the announcement of the reunion. Of course, Rock and Roll Night was going to be the lead single from this.
Yeah, and they'd already done the Grammys,
right?
With Snoopy.
Yeah.
Tupac, not Snoop. Who did I miss? Daniel?
Yeah,
and me too.
Actually, I think they picked the correct song when they picked Rock and Roll Night. That was a no-brainer. I would probably have picked Beth over Every Time I Look at You, because, as Lonnie said, this was about the Kiss reunion, and use two songs where you can see all the guys or the original guys. So Rock and Roll Night, and then I would probably have picked Beth, even though it's not one of my favorite songs, but in order to sell the album and get some interest in the album, I would pick that one. But I think the picks are all right. Every Time I Look at You, it sounds great on this album, and it's a Paul favorite, so why not pick that one? But I don't think any of the if Rock and Roll All Night didn't make it and got a lot of attention, no other song would have gained a lot of traction either. So really that didn't matter if they wanted to make a big splash. So the best songs, I would say, would be something like Going Blind. That's just an awesome performance. Or I Still Love You, even though it's a bit slow and a bit lethargic. Yeah, just show to the world what a great singer Paul Stanley would have been. Kind of cool.
Nice. Mark.
Well, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I mean, again, I understand the point of, it's got to be Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, as much as I'm just so tired of that song, I understand why it's going to be put on there, because, they're trying to promote the thing. But I mean, really, that doesn't matter what the single is, because I mean, like you guys said, only a dumbass wouldn't have realized that they're going to do a reunion after this anyways, right? So obviously it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they're gonna put out, because that's gonna have no effect on whether people are gonna buy the tickets on the reunion tour. It's gonna have zero effect. They could have put whatever on there. Me personally, I mean, great, put Rock and Roll All Night on there. But I think the two biggest mistakes was, I think they should have played Forever instead of Every Time I Look at You. Much better song, in my opinion, and would have probably translated really good on acoustic. And I think the other big mistake they made is that they brought in an orchestra for one song. Now, how stupid is that? They should have did more than one song with the orchestra. What the hell were they thinking? They should have brought them out and do a couple of songs in a row. That was the most brainless, stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Couldn't afford
when I saw that happen, oh, give me a break.
Whoa.
MTV is behind it. You're telling me they couldn't afford it? Like, come on. So they should have brought
I think they should have left that fucking
songs,
orchestra off the whole album.
Ooh, yeah, but
no.
I mean, but
Wow.
if it's there,
Language.
then they should have had it for at least more than one song, And that's my biggest problem.
Hands off this album.
Oh, I'm sitting here
But
caressing mine.
But real quick, you have to say that
You're a dumbass.
Lonnie said, this was all about the reunion. That's the problem with the album, because if you listen to the album, it's really about the Revenge lineup and how well they sounded. That is the album.
Nobody cared about it.
And the thing with Peter and Ace is just like something,
Cherry on top?
of the album. Yeah, cherry on top. That's the expression I was looking for.
But
Yeah, and I agree with
But when
you.
the album came out in March, think about where we're at in March. Like Julian said, they had already done the Grammys. The reunion, the official announcement for the reunion is a couple of weeks away. This came out like March, I want to say like 26 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of weeks away. I mean, they were hyping what they were going to do the rest
Yeah,
of
of course.
1996 and 1997. And I agree with you about the Revenge lineup on this. I mean, I'm going to sing its praises as we go song by song, though.
Yeah,
this
but
is
that's
the
what I'm saying.
bookend.
It wouldn't
This
have
is the
mattered what
perfect
happened.
bookend.
It wouldn't have mattered at all what happened, because the reunion was the big selling point, and this
Yeah,
was
of
just
course.
a little
Yeah.
thing the calm before the storm.
Yeah. But
Just
it
to
is
echo Lonnie's point, this is the perfect bookend to that lineup. There is no more, better ending whatsoever for the Kulik Singer lineup than the power of this performance. Because if you look back at 10 years of this show, how many times we've talked about this album and absolutely gushed about it, and it still means that much to us today, as we're obviously going to discover as we go through the songs. But I do agree with Mark's point that they had an orchestra, and it would have been nice for it to have been deployed on Sure Know Something and Beth.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But technically very challenging to do so. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. All right, so the song rankings. Before we go, let's have some multimedia.
Yeah.
Cause he gets up in the morning and he goes to work at night, and he comes home at 5:30 if the drinks ain't treat every time. Cause his world is built on punctuality, it's never been. And he's oh so good, and he's oh so fine, and he's oh so healthy in his body and his mind. He's a well-respected man about that doing the best thing so conservatively.
All right,
The
just
Kinks.
Was that the Kinks?
The Kinks.
that was the
Yeah.
well-respected man is from the Kinks, as is
I haven't heard
what
that.
was going to follow that, Lola. I want to just get into a little bit of the multimedia around MTV Unplugged and the rehearsals, just because it's so cool, just to tell the story. And that to me just illustrates one thing about Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley at this time: their harmonies were still hot shit. They still had it when they wanted to. Just those two guys who'd been busking on street corners in 1971 and 1972, those guys still existed in 1995, and it just makes me smile when I hear that sort of thing.
Agreed.
Even knowing the challenges between them personally in the 90s. So let's get into the song rankings. As always, we've ranked them. I've explained the ranking that we're going to be talking about: acoustic translation and band performance for each one of these, and then, of course, taste. So without further ado, let's get into the bottom of the pile. And again, it's a great album. Something has to come up the bottom, and something has to, win the competition for what it's worth. It doesn't matter a damn. It's only numbers, and it's only music, and it's only opinions. In 15th place, right at the bottom, Ken, 98 points,
What?
Domino.
Oh.
Lonnie and Ken burst into tears. Lonnie, it's a revenge song. I can't believe this came so far down the list.
I can't either. I gave it 27 points.
Of course.
Wow.
I mean, if I wouldn't have given it 27 points, how low would this have been? So, I'm stunned by this. I gave it acoustic translation. I gave it 5. I think it sounds great acoustically. He took it's a couple years after Revenge came out. There's 2 Revenge songs on here. They're still trying to push it a little bit. So I get that. I think if you're going to pick up ones, I think the 2 songs they picked off of Revenge for MTV Unplugged are the obvious choices. I think the acoustic translation is great. I gave it a 5. Band performance, I gave it a 4. Not perfect, but really, really good. And I gave it a 3 because I like it for taste. So I don't know where you guys are coming from, but I guess I'm going to hear it.
All right, Mark, let's hear it.
Uh-oh.
Well, I gave it. It wasn't that terrible a score. I mean, acoustic translation, I gave it a 3. I mean, it's really not one of these. When I do, okay, let me just explain this first. Acoustic translation to me means, do I think the song translates well onto acoustic instruments, or also do I think that the translation worked out good on acoustic. For me, I think that it's not a bad version of the song, but I just don't think it's one that's strong on acoustic. It's much more stronger in a rock form than it ever has been in an acoustic setting. And I think that it's just one of these songs that I think it was just on there because similarly to how Paul was pushing for Every Time I Look at You, Gina's been pushing for Domino. It was on tours all the time from that period when they were, or shows whenever they were doing, around this period, they had to have Domino in there all the time. So, he wanted this on there as well. So I think I could see that compromise happening between Paul and Gene with that, but it's not a bad performance. It's just I don't think it's as strong a performance translated onto acoustic guitar. It's definitely a song that was thought about and performed on electric. A lot of these other songs, I didn't feel that was the case. I think that some of these songs that we get to later were almost written on acoustic. I got the feeling. Yeah. So that's how I looked at it. So 3 for acoustic, 3 for performance, and 2 for taste. So I gave it a 12.
Yeah, that was the point. That was why it's at the bottom. Daniel.
I gave it 20 points. I think the problem is that, much like Mark said, it really doesn't translate that well acoustically, I think. Especially, the small guitar parts that Bruce is doing. It's very hard to mimic the electric guitar on an acoustic guitar in this song. I think that's the main problem. However, I think it's kind of a cool pick that they picked this one. I didn't mind it. So 20 points for me. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, Ken.
No, I gave it a 21, acoustic translation. I agree that it's really not, to me, it's not built for acoustic. I think it lost something from that rock kind of sound on Revenge to this. And I think that they chose this song because, they're still trying to promote Revenge after the fact. It goes with this song and the other, Every Time I Look at You. And the band performance, though, I give it a 4. I think it's a pretty good band performance on that one. That's just my rating. And then I gave it a 3 on taste. So, it was 21. It's not bad. I mean, that's still a pretty darn good score. But, it's not perfect.
Other than Lonnie, none of us ranked it high. It was only Lonnie. And that's why it's at the bottom of the pile. I agree with Mark. I agree with Ken. There are better songs. I mean, come on, Burn Bitch Burn should definitely have been.
Lonely Sounder.
I would have liked them to try.
It makes sense why it's there, as Ken said, we're still pushing Revenge, but there were just better songs that I think could have been selected. Here's another great piece of multimedia, and this is my key break song. Because this is 3 minutes. They had so much difficulties trying to rehearse Domino, and these are on the MTV rehearsals. This is a compilation, a condensed 3-minute clip of them trying to get Domino working, and I just find it so hilarious that it's worth sharing.
What was that?
You think it's worth picking up that C right before the last A?
Jeremy, let me tell you my story. I've got a man-sized predicament. It's a small one for a child. Yeah.
Can we do it again, please? I have a cheat sheet.
You know what? I know the lyrics. It's just I was fucking around with Jeremy. It's his fault.
So what is your excuse on the other show? What's the... Paul, you know what I think you should do?
Paul, go home to mother.
Paul. Yeah, what?
I go, so what is your excuse on the other shows? I know.
Why don't you write out a little sheet that gives you key
I won't
words?
force myself on because I'm gonna fuck up. But I know the lyrics. I know the lyrics. Try it again, please.
1, 2, 3.
Let me tell you my story. Don't do the little one routine. I've got a man-sized predicament, and it's a little one. Goes like this. Yeah.
Hold on.
want us to say "Got Me by the Walls" or "Got to Have It All"?
Very funny. I was just writing that on my hand.
Thank you so much. The living edit.
I actually have to make a phone call on that. Check with.
Let me tell you my story. I've got a man-sized predicament, and it's a big one. Goes like this. Yeah.
I was thinking about, why don't you just write it down so that you can always fall back on it? It's just put the first line of each verse. That one sheet there, 3 different songs.
Okay. I wrote it, you know that?
They might be small, but
It might be small, but it spins.
There's an evil curse on it. Should we play or I'll make a phone call?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Get it.
Fucking wankers.
Let me tell you my story. I've got a man-sized predicament, and it's a big one. Goes like this. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Don't you pick that up? Just one guitar does it.
I go.
It'll be tighter.
You should write down the words.
Right down the
I'm
verse.
sorry. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt with 3 minutes of that,
Oh,
but
my goodness.
I loved listening to those sequences just all through the rehearsals of them trying to do it. But it also illustrates a band that is very comfortable with each other. I find there's great rapport there, even at the back and forth between Paul and Gene, and just Paul's little sarcastic end there is just so perfect. All right, into 14th place. This is the song that I thought was going to be at the bottom on 106 points. Do You Love Me? Daniel, how did that work for you?
Well, I didn't really understand why they picked this one, because there's not a lot of cool guitar work on this one that works acoustically. It's kind of repetitive, and I don't know why they picked this one, but I think it sounds all right on the album. Of course, I don't remember what I gave it. I gave it like, let's see, Do You Love Me? I actually gave it 20 points. I think.
Wow.
It's not suited for an acoustic performance, but if you have to do it, it's hard to do it better than this. You know what I mean? It's not suited for an acoustic performance, but the way they did it, I think it's all right. So 20 points from me.
Mark.
Yeah, so I didn't give it the bottom of the barrel, but again, as far as acoustic treatment goes on this, I gave it a 3. Again, like Daniel said, this is not a song I would have thought of to put onto acoustic from there. It's just holding chords, dan 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 dan. That's like, it's pretty like nothing to do guitar wise. Just the only thing that's exciting is that little guitar line thing that they do in between. That's about the only exciting bit on there. And that's, again, this is another song, another great example of a song that's better played on electric than it is on acoustic. It just translates better that way. And yeah, again, it didn't help that it was from Destroyer, but it didn't have that didn't have any impact on you. I thought performance-wise, I thought that they performed it good. I gave it a 4. So I mean, and it's hard not to play the song decently well because it's not that difficult to play on guitar. Vocally it might be a bit more challenging, of course, because it's not. Paul always has some decent singing involved with his songs, right? But I just don't think it translated well, and it's never been one of my favorite songs. So I gave it a 2 for taste. So I gave it a 14.
Lonnie.
Well, I disagree with Mark.
Nice T-shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. A little self-promotion for the show. I think the song's great. I love this version of "Do You Love Me" on MTV Unplugged. You're coming off of Going Blind, and you hear the drums of "Do You Love Me," and the crowd's into it. And I think the song translates really well. I gave this song 27 points. I think it's great.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. I think it
Still
sounds
Lawrence
fantastic on this song. I think Paul sounds great. I think Paul's vocals. Paul sounds really, really strong on this whole
Yeah,
album.
I
He sounds
agree with
really
that.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
He sounds really good on this song. The
On every song.
the drums sound really. The drum intro sounds really great. And I think it's just a strong performance. I think the song's translated really well acoustically. I think it really works. It's actually one of my go-to versions of the song. I think it sounds great. I give it 27 points.
Whoa.
Who have I missed? Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah. I think the acoustic transition, I agree with Mark on the, I think this song needs to have those power chords, and it just kind of fall flat in this song, acoustically. It doesn't really work well for me. So I give it a 4 on that one. Band performance, just perfectly fine. 5 out of 5. And then I gave it, I think what dinged it down for me is my taste. This song is not one of my favorite Kiss songs. They played it a lot, obviously, in the last number of years, but it's just not one of my favorite songs by them. It's not a bad song, but it's not one of my favorites. So I gave it a 2 out of 3 on that. So I give it an 18.
But actually, Mark, you're saying this song sounded better on Destroyer.
I said it translated better as an electric
Yeah,
song.
but what you're meaning is that it sounds better on Destroyer. Isn't that true?
No.
Maybe.
Okay.
Nothing sounds good on Destroyed. I should be well
Oh,
known by now.
God. There we go.
Oh. Well, I also gave it 27 points. I like how it sounds, but in looking when I was doing my notes about why, I was like, well, no, in some way it sounds great, but this is the song that I would flip with Got to Choose. So that this is the bonus and Got to Choose as part of the set. Because I really, a lot of people know I love Got to Choose as well. So Do You Love Me sounds great. It's fun. Yeah, it's missing some of the power chords, but it's also kind of, it had to be there. And it's much more valid as a song in that sense than, say, Domino. I'm going to go into another piece of multimedia now as well, because it's the tail end of this that's really important. And because Got to Choose isn't making this conversation outside of me shoehorning it in here, it just shows them working their asses off on arrangements.
Yeah, that's why we've been doing it.
I like that. It's a little phone number. I think it's great. I think anything we can do is just a little different.
As long as, so it's just,
same electronics that are
you know what I'm doing?
You would go,
But you know, it's not,
wait, Criss down. Can I join them?
worst case scenario, let's say we don't do Beth, what do we do? We do Black Diamond?
You know, I had a thought. Maybe if Peter sang a verse or two of Rock and Roll All Night and give it a... Because Alex keeps talking about another take on a song just to make it different, like Clapton did that. And I think that's too important of a song.
So that ending dialogue is kind of important to this whole
Did you
MTV.
refer to Eric Clapton at the end? I didn't hear.
Yeah.
Mhm. They were talking about how he had done his unplugged session. They were talking about what if they don't do Beth, which, before Ace and Pete, I think it's before Ace and Peter come into the rehearsals for the first time, just how much attention they are, really giving this whole thing and what they're aiming for. Clapton is the target. That's really interesting for their Unplugged. And also, again, I just like the workman ethic of listening to them working on that arrangement of Got to Choose. And since, again, as it doesn't make this album properly for the discussion, I apologize, but there's more multimedia to come. Let's move on.
Love it.
13th place, and I'm shocked. I'm stunned. I'm horrified. 2000 Man with 111 points. Daniel.
Well, 2000 Man, it's a cool song, but if you compare the performance, I mean, as we said earlier, Ace and Peter didn't have, like 2 or 3 month practice, doing live shows, or it was like a month or something. They did the convention tour, so, and it's pretty obvious on the song. If you actually, Ace really wanted to do "Shock Me," but it couldn't do the solo, so they picked 2000 Man instead. And I don't know. Compare Ace Frehley's vocals to Paul and Gene. I mean, it's not at the same level. I think it's never been. It kind of goes through the song. I gave it a 4. When it comes to acoustics, translation, and band performance, I gave it a 3. But I like the song, so I gave it 3 for taste. It's kind of cool. You need to, but I don't know what other song could have done. Cold Gin, maybe. I don't know if that translated so well on acoustic. Hard Times, Rocket Ride.
You're not doing Rocket Ride on an acoustic.
New York Groove.
Well, you never know. You can't use that flanger effect, but it would be kind of cool. But I think it's a decent performance, but it's pretty evident going from "I Still Love You Every Time I Look at You" and into 2000 Man. I mean, there's a difference there when it comes to performance. And but since I like the song, I still gave it 21 points.
Lonnie.
I gave it 27 points. I think that the song is... It's a Kiss show. We're allowed to like Kiss songs.
That's right.
I mean,
you're right, Lonnie.
This is the podcast. You're allowed
to
like
it.
You're allowed. It's a Kiss podcast. We're allowed to say good things about it. It's Ace Frehley. It's Ace Frehley playing a song with Kiss for the first time since 1980, whatever.
I'd rather hear "I Walk Alone" with Bruce Kulick.
Well, I Walk Alone wasn't even out yet. So I gave this song 27. I was listening to it at the gym this morning, and I thought, "Damn, this song sounds good." I think it really sounds great. I think hearing the 4 original members played this song together acoustically on MTV, and you hear Peter's drumming on the song. I'm sorry, I think it sounds great. I give it 27 points, and I don't apologize for it at all.
Damn right. It's middle of the road for me. It sounds good. It sounds fine. It's casual. It's lazy. It's laid back. It's very acey. It's great. It has a vibe. Ken.
Yeah, you're going to be surprised, but I gave it a perfect score.
Yes, Ken. Let's go.
And 2000 Man is not one of my favorite songs, but I just think it translated pretty well to acoustic, so I give it a 5, and the performance perfectly fine. I'm not like Daniel, who hates the original classic lineup.
So, you're blind just because it's a reunion. You have to use your ears, Ken. Voice of treason.
Oh, I see. I give it a total of 30 points, which is top. 8 of my songs are rated as 8 out of all the songs are, I think, 30 perfect on this album.
That's the problem with this album, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's too darn good. But I enjoy it. And again, it's not one of my favorite songs. I wish they would have put like New York Groove instead or something else, but which I think might have worked too. But whatever. I like it. It worked for me.
Mark does not agree.
Here we go.
I'll keep it PG. I won't go off the handle because I know people get so offended when I try to speak in my normal way about these things. But
I'll say
I
You
gave
go,
it-
Mark. Go, Mark.
Look, the problem with this is the same thing that with everything with Ace, as far as when it comes to acoustic stuff. I love Ace Frehley songs. I love Rocket Ride. I love Shock Me. I'm a
Hard
big fan
Times.
of the stuff he did on the Dynasty albums. But the problem is that none of these songs translate on acoustic guitar. Any way you look at it, any way you slice it, if you just forget for a moment the
Ooh.
big thing that, oh my God,
We
this is
slice
a
it.
reunion.
Asylum
If
track.
you do what Daniel says and you listen with your ears for a minute, you'll realize that these songs don't translate good on acoustic guitar. And yeah, he's not as good a singer as Paul, and that's fine. We've known that since he was in the band.
Well.
So that I don't really count as part of the thing in here. Okay. But just overall, it just seems like it's. I'm not going to say it's a weak song. It's a good song. I like it on the album, but again, it's an electric song that just doesn't translate good over on acoustic guitar for me. I mean, you guys can say all you want.
Have you ever
but
heard the original?
Yeah, I did, but I
That's
don't.
terrible.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm saying right now,
Lot
from
better
what
than
I
the
heard
original.
on there, I just don't think it translates good. I mean, the reason why he didn't do Shock Me is for that same reason. You can't play those riffs on an acoustic guitar. Okay, you can't do the soloing. You can't even get past the 12th fret on an acoustic guitar. How's he gonna play that? So to me, I think that it's just not. It didn't matter. Ace kind of was going to have this problem with anything he picked because his songs are rock songs. They're all about throwing your hand in the air, rocking out, doing his moves and everything. That's Ace Frehley, but it's not acoustic guitar. It doesn't translate. So I gave it a 3 for the translation. I gave it a 3 for performance because it's not just him. I thought Peter was okay, but it was it's very safe drumming on this. If you watch the video, Gene was constantly watching him to make sure that he was in time with them. He was always looking at him, making sure he was with them. And it was never my favorite song, so I gave it a 2. So I gave it a 12 total. So that's just, I think that's a more than fair considering when you listen to the rest of the record. And I do have 30s perfect scores on this, but this is far from perfect.
No, you do have 30s, and again, it's your opinion, and that's all that matters to you. Moving into 12th place on 115 points is another very disappointing pick for me, and it's Beth. And I've already said that I'm disappointed that they didn't utilize the orchestration for this song, but I also get the realities. Rehearsals were challenging enough to kind of work that out. They started out in rehearsals looking at the arrangement of Beth before Peter even came in the building. Here's a little bit of that. All right, that's Eric Singer on vocals, singing Gene, I Hear You Calling. So 115 points. We can only start with Mark on a Destroyer song.
Here we go.
Well, for me, again, it scored low for a few reasons. Number one, the thing that Julian just brought up. This song was screaming for that orchestra. Why they didn't use it? I mean, you went through it. Yes, it would have been challenging, blah, 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 blah. But still, it should have been there. It should have definitely been used. I don't care how challenging it was, how, difficult it would have been or whatever. They should have used it for that song. And again, I think they did a good job overall, like for the amount of time they had. But I still think, the one thing I was always kind of not agreeing with those guys is that if you remember the one footage where you saw Peter playing with that little conga drum or bongo drum thing with the mallets, how he was playing along with it, and then Paul and Gene said, I don't know if that's such a good idea, him having to play the percussion while he sings bit. You know what? I thought it would have been a little bit more interesting because all it was really is just it turned into a campfire song when it was like this, just the way it was, just two guys, on acoustic and and a bass guitar and singing, and it's not bad, but I thought it would have given it an element of something a bit different. And if you notice in the clips that you played, Julia, they were always kind of looking for that little bit of different in these performances. What did Clapton do and this and that? So I thought it might have been a good idea to maybe try to let Peter do it. Sure, maybe it wouldn't have been a spot on performance, but as history knows, there's never been a perfect performance of this song with Peter ever. So what would have been the difference? So let him do the percussion. I thought it would have added an interesting element to the song. So I just gave it a 3s down the line: 3 acoustic translation, 3 performance. And Beth was never in one of my favorite songs, so I gave it a 2. I would have maybe gave it a 1, but I didn't want to give it a 1. I gave it a 2, so I gave it a 12.
You've just brought up something that I do have multimedia for, so I was going to do this at the end of our discussion on Beth, but I'm going to do it now. And it's the tongue drum. That was a gift from Gene Simmons to Peter. Peter's a sentimental guy, so he thought it'd be nice to use a gift, the tongue drum, on that percussively, and they didn't like it. And they had to persuade, Peter nicely that we don't think it works. But this is some of that original when they were trying to work it. Now, don't start bashing on Peter because of pitch and tone. There are no in-ear monitors and very poor monitors in a rehearsal hall. So he's not completely on. They're working on an arrangement here. So that's a bit of the tongue drum trying to work it. That would have been tough to do as well. Even if he'd rehearsed and practiced, kind of what he wanted to do rhythmically before getting in with their tempo and their arrangement and trying to bring the two together. But I think they made the right call.
I think it was interesting.
Wrong call in not using the orchestra. Daniel, Beth.
Well, personally, Beth has never been one of my favorite songs. It's not very Kiss-like. But it was a big hit, so they needed to include that one, Peter's big hit. So, but when it comes to the acoustic performance, I gave it 16 points. It's okay, but actually my favorite acoustic performance is from a totally different album. If you ever listen to that Cat 1 album from '94, there's an acoustic version of Beth at the tail end of that record. That's my favorite acoustic performance of Beth. This is kind of nothing special. So 16 points from me.
Lonnie.
Disagree with both of you. I think it's fantastic. I think that the acoustic guitars and Peter's vocals, it
27
to me, it
points.
Sounds... I'm sorry?
27
30
points.
30 points. 30 points. I think it's fantastic. I think Beth in that setting, MTV Unplugged. I when they did the show on MTV Unplugged and watching it on Halloween night, it's edited and this and that, and you hear Paul say, "What should we play?" And the first thing that came to my mind was Beth is what song you should play. I think it's the perfect selection, and I think the band executed it tremendously. I think it sounds great on that album. The acoustic performance, Ace's solo, Peter singing, fantastic. 30 out of 30.
I gave it 27, Daniel.
Look at you. Come on.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But I'm a sentimental guy too, and it had to be there, and I like it. I just wish it had had that orchestra with the 4 originals, which you don't get on Symphony. Who did I forget? Ken. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go. I have 30 points too, like Lonnie.
10, let's go.
Listen, Beth is not one of my favorite songs. It's probably one of my lower, songs. Like when we did this Destroyer album, I think it's better acoustic. It doesn't need a symphony, really. I remember when we watching the Kiss Me Stefano of the Park, and they had kind of like that acoustic. I thought, man, that sounds really good. It's just like that, simple, just good. And that was just a guitar on that one sound. So, so I thought it worked well. I think the performance was perfectly fine. It translated well to acoustic. It's probably written on acoustic, obviously, and the band performance 5. There's no problems with it. And my taste, even though my taste is not Beth, I still gave it a 3. Anyway, I thought, you know what? They did a good job. This is the way they should have done it, and it worked.
All right. Moving on to the last of the bottom 5 on 118.5, because you know who likes to use decimals. Nothing to Lose. And again, this is why I'm shocked. And this is probably why Daniel's like nodding knowingly, in agreement. That all the stuff with the originals is in the bottom 3rd because of Mark and Daniel.
Yeah, but that's where it should. That's where it should be. I mean, if you listen with your ears,
exactly,
it's subpar performances compared to the Kulik singer. When you just listen to music, of course, I get it. Bringing back the main guys is a big thing, but it doesn't sound as good as when you hear the Revenge Era lineup. That's just a fact.
Totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. So acoustic transition 4 out of 5. I think it's still good, and band performance 4 out of 5. Not to get technical about it, but the drumming is you have to play it safe in order for it to work, and that takes away from the performance. As a guy who's been playing drums and playing guitar a little bit, I can still hear the way they're playing it is keeping it safe, and that makes it a bit more boring than listening to Eric Singer playing Coming Home or something. That's just a fact, guys. But it's cool that they bring back Peter and Ace. I wouldn't have liked them to not be on the album, but if you listen with your ears, this is not as good as the part with the Revenge Era lineup. So I gave it 16 points.
I'll listen with my heart. Mark.
You can't listen with your heart, Julian.
Daniel, I'm going to say, much how Lonnie and Ken seem to be in simpatico, me and you are definitely in simpatico with this, because I have to agree. Nothing to Lose. The acoustic translation of it's not bad. It's not too bad on acoustic guitar. But again, you hit the nail right firmly on the head. The drumming on this is, man, it's like entry level drumming on this. Like Peter Criss's drumming is just like do 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 do. Like it's so. And even talked about it if you watch some of the rehearsal things. They made him just keep time, and any fills that were done by Eric. And they were not even that big razzmatazzy. They did whatever. But I think what saved it for me was Eric Singer's vocals on this. I loved his singing on this when he came in and started singing. I thought that really, put it up a notch for me as far as that's concerned. But other than that, Nothing to Lose was always a pretty good song, middle of the road kind of thing. And while this song kind of translated a bit better on acoustic guitar than some of the other songs, again, there was just some parts on here that just pulled it back too much, And I can already see the cheap shot there. The song needs Neil Peart's. No, it has nothing to do with Neil Peart's drumming. It just needs a little bit more fire to it. That's all. It's the same thing about what Daniel is saying. When you watch Peter Criss do this back in '75 and stuff like that, there was some oomph to it. There was some some weight to it. Some, he was never Neil Peart, Peter Criss, but that's not what the songs need, So that's, but it's very middle of the road. That's what really brought it down. I agree with Daniel. So I gave it a 3 for acoustic translation, 4 actually for performance, because I really think that Eric Singer saved this song, and a 2. So I gave it for a taste, so 14 total.
Just to bring up
Wow.
that comment about Beth being written on
That's
Ezrin's
bad.
piano. No, it wasn't. Beth was written by Stan Penridge and Peter Criss in 1970. Nothing to do with Ezrin. The melody's all there before Ezrin refines it. Ezrin made contributions to it, but he did not write the song. It already existed before he got his hands on it. He just polished it and made it what it could be. But Peter and Stan.
You
Monty.
refined it.
I think the song is fantastic. And I think Ken's going to agree with me that I think hearing the 6 of them play the song together and Eric taking the lead and Peter chiming in, I think it's great. What more do you want? It's the freaking Kiss reunion on MTV and the 6 of them playing together. That's what it's all about. And also, I don't think that it would have went this way today had this happened, because you have the 2 drummers kind of sharing the vocals on this, and the attention is all of a sudden really shifted off of Gene and Paul with what's going on in this song. And I think, that's one reason why we didn't get any kind of reunion or anything at the very end of the touring band at the end of the road, because it would have taken the attention off of Gene and Paul. And I think in 1995 doing this and having the attention on Eric Singer and Peter Criss and not on Gene and Paul is very different than the attitudes we would have had in 2023, or the attitudes we did have in 2023, because we didn't have anything like this. So that aspect is what really ranks the song up high for me, that you get the attention on some different members of the band. And I agree with Mark that Eric's singing on this and Eric's drumming on this are fantastic. And the song really showcases Eric with the 6 of them on stage, but I give it 30 points. I think it's great.
All right, who'd I miss? Ken?
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah, I'm in I'm in lockstep with Lonnie on this. I gave it a perfect score, 30. I don't understand the hate for Ace and Peter from some other people.
Agreed.
There's no hate.
But it's nothing wrong with that.
They're not as good as the others.
Have you ever heard the saying, keep it simple, stupid? So that's
really simple, though. Come on.
Yeah, but really you don't want to have 2 guys going crazy on at the same time. It really wouldn't have, worked at all. I just think it's I enjoyed the hell out of this song. I mean, it's just great. I just listen to it for what it is, and it's really, really good. I'm not listening to like, oh, Peter, you're just playing thunk, 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 thunk. I don't care. The whole thing works. It just works. That's all that matters. Is that it works. So, and the thing that makes it for me even is Peter's vocals. Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm like, yes, his vocals. Yeah, that's what I want to hear when Peter sings. That's the type of vocal. So I know you didn't say anything about that. It was all about the simple drumming and stuff. But I think the performance is perfectly fine. You got 5 guys.
I think it feels restrained. It feels like a restrained performance of the song.
Well, it's not a live rock concert, all these songs are restrained if you really look at it.
A bit too much
compared to what they normally do.
Well, we'll get to the other ones and we'll see.
But anyway, perfect score. It deserves it.
Yeah, no, I like it, but it was a single take. Probably could have used another take.
Not bad on the first one take.
I like how Peter and Eric divided the drumming, and Eric deferred and let Peter kind of drive, and we get both their call outs as a result. It's a great use of all 6 members of the band. And I think you're making sure that everyone, again, Eric deferred to Peter for that song. So very cool. All right, let's crank things up speed-wise a bit. In 10th place, A World Without Heroes, 119 points. Got to start with Ken.
Yes.
I won't forget you.
I gave it another perfect score. I think it's great. Obviously, it translates a lot better because of the type of song it was on The Elder. works great. Acoustic translation 5 for band performance, just perfectly fine. And my taste, I like the song. I like Gene singing, so I gave it a 30. Simple as that.
Lonnie.
Yeah, translation wise, I think it really worked well acoustically. I think it was a surprise to me watching it for the first time. Like, oh wow, the first 3 songs on there, 2 of them are off of Hotter Than Hell, 2 lesser songs known off of Hotter Than Hell. Like watching this for the first time, I was like, wow, we're really digging deep. I'm just loving it. The 16-year-old me, really digging it as I'm watching it. I ended up giving Going Blind 24 points.
Wait a minute, are we talking Going Blind? Did you say Going Blind?
No, I'm sorry.
Heroes.
I'm sorry. World Without Heroes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I thought I was doing. I did the wrong song.
No, I'm mixed up. Not you. I gave it 27 points for World Without Heroes. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Going Blind, but you were talking Gene. I get my mind got off track for a second. But World Without Heroes, it works really well acoustically. I was talking about going deep. World Without Heroes. Damn, that's awesome. So 27 points. Great performance.
Mark.
Okay, so now I'm glad that we're finally out of this, so I can finally start talking, in a more positive light here, because this is an example here of what we were talking about earlier, even with Daniel said. Now that we're here with the 4 people doing this, now we're going to start seeing a lot of strong shit, I think, because World Without Heroes, I think this is a great example of a song that did translate good on acoustic guitar. And what I mean is, like, for example, like some of those keyboard parts, like the piano, like that do 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 do. Eric Bruce there put it on acoustic and did those little lines on there while Paul did the chording, and it turned out great. I like the way that they translated and gave different parts to different people on there, and I think Gene sang it really well. I think that the drumming has a really good touch to it. How he didn't overkill it too much. He had a good finesse to it and good, overall feel for it was fantastic. I think I gave the acoustic translation a 4 out of 5. I gave the band performance a 5 out of 5. I mean, this is not a song that I like. Keep in mind, okay, I'm never a World Without Heroes fan, but I can't lie. Listening with my ears, this is a great performance. And this was done really, really well. The only reason why it got the final score that it did is because my taste was only a 2. So I ended up giving it an 18. But I gave it a 4 for acoustic and a 5, perfect 5 for band performance.
Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, I think this isn't one of my favorite songs, so I only gave it 2 for taste. But otherwise, it's a perfect performance. Gene's vocals are out of the park. He hits it out of the park, and I think it's a song that's suited well for an acoustic performance. And as you mentioned, Mark, he isn't going like Lars Ulrich from Metallica on Nothing Else Matters, drumming too much. It's a very held back. It works with the song. It's a very hard song to play drums to because it's so laid back. But I think the performance is great. I gave it 5 out of 10 points for translation acoustically and the other thing there. But for taste only 2, so it ends up with, is it 20 points then?
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's a fantastic Gene vocal, and it works really well unplugged. 2 criticisms, very minor. I think the bass needs a little bit of reverb on it, just in terms of the atmosphere of the song. And this is one, if you remember the Fridays performance, that it would have been nice to have again some of those strings. They use keyboards on Fridays when they did it electrically. It would have just been nice to have a little bit of orchestral embellishment under that, because it's such a beautiful song. But it also raises the question of, what if? And I get the feeling Gene could have done another song other than A World Without Heroes, going deep into his well. What do you think, Ken? Rockin' in the USA.
Yeah, that would have been interesting to try that. I mean, it's not.
Mark's a no.
It's not one of the best songs, of course, but it would have been interesting to hear it, how it would have ended up.
Yep.
All right, so we're now well into the top 10. In ninth place on 126.7 points, that's me again, is I Still Love You. Start with Mark on that.
Well, again, we're getting into the high caliber stuff now. So again, I really like this song. I mean, I've always loved it on the original. Yeah, it's a sort of a ballad and it's a little bit more laid back, but because of that, this is where Paul shines vocally. This is where he, performs at his pinnacle level of vocalization. I've really loved this song. I think that Bruce does a really good job on it, as far as like the soloing sections and all those things. It just really, really well translated. And again, this is one of those songs where you kind of always envision the electric end of it, because it has those powerful parts in the I Still Love You with the guitars coming in the choruses and stuff like that. But because they didn't have electric equipment for this, he had to replace that energy vocally, and Paul can do that with his voice. And he gave it a really good, powerful performance in the choruses of the song. So again, I gave this a 4 for a translation. I gave it a perfect 5 for band performance, and I gave it a 3 for taste. So a 27 I gave for this song. Absolutely enjoyed and loved this performance of this song.
Yeah, it's damn near perfect. It's it's the highlight of Paul's vocals for me. I gave it 29.7. I had to take tenths off just because I didn't want to have everything at 30s.
29.
I was militant about not having everything be the bestest. So, Lonnie.
Well, I did give it a 30 because I gave too many songs a 30 on this album. I think it's great. I mean, what criticism can you have of this performance? No. The band sounds great. Paul's vocals are just absolutely the best they've ever been on this album, and in particular this song. I don't know what more you could want out of it. So yes, I gave it a perfect score. I'm total homer for this album.
Ken.
Yeah, I gave it a 20. Because I think the translation is fine. It's 5. I give it a 5. Band performance perfectly fine, a 5. I just never really cared for this song. I think it's the lowest point on Creatures of the Night itself. For me, I just thought it was okay song. I think people like this more than it really is. They give credit for, they give it too much credit, to tell you the truth. So I dinged it for my taste. I give it a 2, and I also gave it a dinged it because of Paul Stanley doing the "look at me" kind of thing. How good I can sing. That's what that was. Look at me kind of point in that song. The whole extent.
But he always does that. That's a
holding the voice, holding the note for
you being a big Kiss fan should be used to that.
Yeah, but this is a more like he didn't need to do that on this thing. It should be more focused on band, just not the me kind of thing. So
Gene could have done it.
No, I wouldn't want Gene to do it either.
Whoa.
Yeah. But anyway, it's more of a taste thing. That's what it is. That's what brought it down for me a little bit.
Mark?
I already did. That was the first one.
I'm left. So I gave it. I actually tried to sneak in a 6 for band performance, but Julian called me on it.
6, you can't
so I have to lower it to a 5 because I think this is, Paul Stanley's greatest vocal performance ever. I think it's awesome. Acoustic translation 5 as well. But I never give a 3 to a ballad. I don't think I have any Kiss ballad that I give a 3 for taste. So it actually ends up with 20 points, even though it's a perfect performance. So 20 points from me.
Yeah, very positive. All right, moving on. Middle of the album, 8th place, 127.5 points. Rock Bottom, which blows my mind completely, as this would be one that I would probably replace. I would have done this, kept the intro, which is glorious as an acoustic piece, perfect for Unplugged, and then I would have gone into She, like double platinum. But that's just,
wow.
I would have been thinking outside the box for this one, because the rest of it doesn't work for me in this format. Mark disagrees. Well, we'll start with you.
That is crazy talk. Okay, that's absolute crazy talk. The introduction is just made obviously on acoustic guitar. It was meant to be played on acoustic guitar, obviously, and I think it was pretty. I'm not going to say it was extended from the original, but it was pretty long, the intro. But I had no problem with it whatsoever. Fantastic performance. They did it really, really well. And this is one of the examples of the song that I think that shows perfect translation to acoustic guitar. Absolutely perfect. It's just those simple chords in the first 5 frets of the guitar. A, the D's, the G's, perfect. Absolutely perfect song to play an acoustic guitar. And anybody and their neighbor next door could probably play this if you give them enough time and show them the chords. Great song. And Paul, I think, again, sings this really, really good, really well done. Sure, there's, maybe, somebody will find something to pick about it. But I think that overall, this is one of those songs that screams to be played on acoustic guitar. It is a perfect example of a song that can do well on electric and on an acoustic guitar. So I gave the acoustic translation perfect 5 out of 5. Band performance, I gave it a 4, maybe because there's always room for improvement. Maybe here and there maybe you could have added a lick or two here and there. So it's not totally perfect. And I gave the taste a 3. So 27, another 27 out of me for this record. Absolutely love this song.
Yeah, but Mark, in 1992 to 1995, Paul Stanley could have sung the phone book, White Pages and Yellow Pages, without any doubt whatsoever.
So what's the problem then?
Well, you seem like you're surprised at how good he was.
No, I'm saying that this is another great example of him singing it good. I'm not surprised. This whole record he's saying perfect.
Yeah,
damn right. Daniel.
Well, it's really hard to take a rock song, play it on an electric guitar, and make it work acoustically. But this is a perfect example on how you can, play an electric guitar song acoustically. So I actually gave it 5 when it comes to acoustic translation, 5 band performance, and I really love Rock Bottom, one of my favorite tracks off of Dress to Kill. So it's a perfect score, 30 points.
Yay!
I gave it 27. I think it's a great performance. I think that it's the acoustic intro is a no-brainer of a selection that it worked really, really well on the album. Really featuring Bruce and Paul and the acoustic portion of it, and then going into that rock section of it, I think it works really well. I think it's a great performance from the band. I gave it 27. Absolutely, great song.
Ken.
Yeah, I give it a 24. The beginning part, the little acoustic inch, beginning part of it, which translates perfectly fine, of course. But I think the other part, the heavier part, I just don't like. I'd rather have it like what it was on Just to Kill, and that's just the way I feel about it. It loses something for me on this performance, so I give it a 3 acoustic translation. But they perform it great. I give it a 5 there, and then my taste is I like the song, so it's 3. But I give it a 24. Not horrible, but I just the translation for me doesn't work as well.
All right, so in 7th place on 120, also on 127.5. But before I do this, I just want to put in a bit more multimedia of this is the originals interacting, and it's just fun to be a fly on the wall for this sort of audio.
Did you do a song called No Voice? Yeah. That shows you how smart I am.
We played it, eh?
Move on?
You played it.
Let's go move on. Pull out it. Go move on. Get out of here. Well, see, that's just like the other day. You didn't remember I was in your hotel room.
Well, that song everybody. No, but we did this on a tour. We did Tossing and Turning for a
That's
couple
right,
weeks.
that's
We
right.
did Move On.
I don't remember Radioactive.
Yes, I remember Radioactive.
I don't remember. Yeah, I watched that Sunday.
You played? Was that?
No, it wasn't actually, wasn't it? It was some other guy.
All right, well, whatever. We were all assholes.
Public service but it's
All right. The originals trying to remember what they performed on the Dynasty tour.
Yeah.
All right. Rock and roll all night, Lonnie.
I don't have a bad thing to say about that at all. Rock and roll night with the 6 of them. I think the Bruce and Ace, each having a solo in there. It's great having Ace sing a line, have Peter sing a line. It's like it's a great kumbaya of the 6 of them together playing, their biggest hit. So I give it 30 points. I think it's a fantastic performance.
Daniel.
Well, I think it's hard to make an acoustic performance of Rock and Roll All Night, but this is the best you can do with it. So I gave it 24 points. Great version, but I prefer the electric version.
Yeah, I gave it 25.5. I said not as good as Nothing to Lose.
What's with the 0.5s and 0.7s? I couldn't give 6 to I Still Love You. You can do whatever you want.
No, I'm still within the parameters of 0 to 5.
Okay, so you can, okay.
0.03156.
And
Okay.
I do the math. So, this one, my only real complaint with Rock and Roll All Night is it has to be there. Duh. It has to be all 6.
Sure.
Duh. It just needed a pause before it on the album, which you have on the filming of the night and the recording of the show. Instead, it just goes straight into it. And it's too quick. There's no pause to rally the crowd. Not that they need rallying, but that's my only minor critique. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Rock and Roll Night's always a tough song for me, just because it's just such a song that's been so overplayed, and just it's difficult to come with it with a clean slate and listen to it. I mean, it's another one of those songs where I don't think it translates as well on acoustic. I think electrically, it's of course a 5-star song. It's always been, the closer of the show all the time, right? But again, not that I don't find it as convincing, than the electric version. So I gave it a 3 on an acoustic translation. Band performance, I gave it a 4. It wasn't too bad. Again, it has little issues here and there, but nothing worth getting into a big haggle over. And I gave it a 3 for taste, so I gave it a 21 overall.
Ken.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 for acoustic translation. I think it worked really well. Band performance, I did 4. I dinged it on that because I would have rather I don't know about the trade-off vocals there. It didn't always flow well for me. I'd rather just let Gene do the whole thing. And then taste, 3 on that. So 27, which is almost perfect.
Did I miss anyone?
I guess not.
Okay. All right, 6th place. 132.2 points. Plaster Caster. We'll start with Gene. Ken.
Yeah, I gave it almost perfect on that one too. Acoustic translation, I think it loses something a little bit from the the album version, but it's still always worked well acoustically. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 on that. And band performance 5 out of 5. And my taste, I love that song, of course. A 3 out of 3. So 27 points for me. I like it.
Yeah, I gave it 28.2. Again,
Oh,
decimals.
28.2.
Again, just I don't want ties in this, and just to differentiate it from how much I like other songs. It really is splitting hairs at this point. But like Coming Home, it really worked well as an acoustic song, and they were still doing it through the final year in sound checks. So it had legs. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, this is another song that I think translated pretty good on acoustic guitar. I mean, I was at first I was a little suspicious if it would be, but like as soon as it comes up with the bass, I think, oh, is this going to turn out okay? But it actually turned out pretty good. I thought it was really good on acoustic guitar. It had a good tone, it sounded good. I think Eric's drumming on this is really good. A lot of good little fills and stuff like that in there that I think translates really nicely on there. So I gave it the translation a 4. And the band performance, I gave it a 4 as well. The only reason why it ranked so low on here is because it's never been a favorite song of mine. I don't know if it's because where it's been on the album throughout the years, it's always been near the end of the record, near the infamous, and then she kissed me. So I was always kind of like staying away from that end of the album all the time. So, but I gave it a 2 for taste. So it ended up getting a 16 only because of that.
All right, Lonnie.
I am in lockstep with Ken. I think the acoustic translation, I gave it a 4. It just loses just a little bit of something. But the band performance of it, I gave it a 5. I think they really pulled it off, and it sounds great. And I love the song. It's 27.
Daniel, did I get you yet?
No, I think it's a pretty silly song with all the crazy lyrics and everything. However, I think the acoustic version breathed new life into the song, and I think this is actually my favorite performance of this song. It's sort of a strange song with strange lyrics. Never really cared for it, so I actually gave it 5 for acoustic translation and band performance, but I don't care for the song, so it got 20 points.
All right, this is the last bit of multimedia for the show, and this is just 2 more bits of what if goofing off in the rehearsal studio. Sorry, I loved how Eric's drums turned out.
How the hell might have worked, actually?
And Mr. Speed.
Yeah. Mr. Speed too. Yeah.
People were screaming for Mr. Speed every year without, until they finally did it on the cruise, I believe. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get in. Let's crank through the top 5 here so we can wrap up because this has been a very long show. In 5th place, sorry, Paul, 134 points. Every Time I Look at You. Start with Lonnie for the revenge song.
Oh, Every Time I Look at You is a 30. Come on. I think that this song, I think this performance breathed new life into the song. I think that it gave Paul what he was looking for. It just didn't translate, I guess. But 30 out of 30, I think it's a fantastic performance.
I'm pleased to report I gave it a 30. Better than
Look at you,
Sunday.
Julian. Let's go.
Paul put the work in for this. Paul Stanley. And it blew my socks off. Still does every time I hear this. So, Mark.
This is ranked pretty good with me. Again, would have been better if they used it if they put it. I don't think they should have used this song, to be honest. I would have put Forever instead, but whatever. This is still turned out really good. The acoustic translation is good. I gave it a 4. Band performance I thought was really good too. I mean, they did really good with it. The orchestra sounds good on this. And my taste, I actually gave it a 3, which is against Daniel's rules for ballads. I know you're supposed to only give it 2 for ballads, but 3 I gave it, so I gave it a 24.
Ken.
I gave it a perfect score of 30, even though it's not my favorite song, but I think it's a lot better here than on Revenge. I think it works. I do agree with Mark, though, that I would have rather had Forever, since it was a pretty recent big hit for them. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it. But yeah, 30 points for me.
Well, that brings us to Daniel, who gave it 20 points.
Yeah. I gave it 5 for acoustic translation and 5 for band performance. But every time I look at you, isn't like Love Hurts by Nazareth. It's not the perfect ballad, so we only get 2 for taste. So that ends up with that leaves you 20 points, even though it's a perfect performance.
All right, 4th place. See You Tonight, 134.5. Ken.
Yeah, See You Tonight. Another perfect score for me. Oh, the rest of the songs are going to be perfect. I just love that song. It translates perfectly to acoustic. Band performance is great. My taste, I love the song. So 30. Yep.
Lonnie, you gave it 16.
What the? I think that it's the song I think I gave the lowest score to.
What?
I think it's just kind of sandwiched in there a little bit. I get acoustic translation, I gave it a 4. Band performance, I gave it a 4. I think it's fine. But taste, I just gave it a 2. It's just an okay song for me. See the Night is not one of my favorites. I think it's just. I think we could have. We're looking at some other stuff like Mr. Speed or Got to Choose, or some other songs that could. I think there could have been better songs in there. See the Night's just. It's kind of it's a sleeper in the middle of the album for me. So I only gave it 16.
Wow.
Yeah, I gave it 28.5. It's an excellent outside the box song. Very well done. Beauty and simplicity. And Mark gave it.
Well, I'm going to say it. This was my first perfect score, and for good reason. Acoustically, the song was meant to be put on acoustic guitar. I mean, the performance is perfect. This is probably one of the songs where the vocals were done absolutely perfect. The vocals were fussed over. If you watch some of the practice performances of it, they were really critiquing each other's pronunciations and the harmonies for this. Not to do the they kind of pronounce the vowels a bit differently in there, which was perfect. And it sounds great. They put in the songs, they put the extra work in, you can really tell, because they just really shined. And this one was my first perfect score. Love this song, and I think it deserves a perfect score.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel?
Yeah, that blows my mind, because I went against my own rule, not giving a ballad a perfect score, but I did. See You Tonight, 30 points. I really cared for this song when it was on Gene Simmons' album, but it shines on the Unplugged album. This is a great performance, a great translation acoustically, so 30 out of 30.
I'm not going to get to use that sound drop on the next one, which is Sure Knows Something in 3rd place on 136.5. Again, I'm splitting hairs with the decimals. 22.5. I'm really happy they did this song live. I'm so happy that we've got this on this album. Lonnie?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic performance of the song. It really shines, really stands out. Paul sounds great. The band sounds great. Acoustic translation of the song is almost sounds like it was made for it. It sounds so great. So I gave it 30 out of 30. It's fantastic.
Daniel?
Best performance ever of Sure Know Something, 30 points.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, again, awesome song. Love the way they translated it. Love the way Bruce did some of the parts on the guitar for this. I gave it a 4 and a 4, and a perfect 3 for the taste. The only reason why I got 4s instead of a perfect 5 is because the other songs that did get perfect scores, I thought were just that little hair better than this. Otherwise, it would have been, it's near perfect. So I gave it a 24.
Ken?
I give it a perfect score of 30. You guys know that with all these 30s that Julian can control which song is going to be the top songs of this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
I'm getting that as well.
I just realized that.
I realized it way back.
Next album focus. Don't forget on your perfect to use the decimal point.
You guys used to. I mean, I didn't look at any of your guys' stuff before I did mine.
This these last songs are Julian's favorites.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm just kidding.
They're not, because I'm not happy with how this ends.
Oh, you're not? Wow. Okay. Well, anyway,
No.
it's a 30. That short on something 30. Keep it simple now.
No, I just sat down when I started doing my ranking count. I was thinking about what happens when we do a live.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be all freaking 30. So I'm like,
you got a tie. Well, it's a tie.
That's going to be rough too.
It's a Ken tie.
You're going to have to split hairs.
I like ties.
In order to bring.
And then there's no loser.
Chaos. All right. So the top two, I got everyone right. The top two are a surprise which order they are. In fact, at the top, the winner is very surprising, as I don't think it should be the winner. I disagree vehemently with you guys. In second place, on 137.4, Coming Home. Shame. I'm sorry. It is the most perfect opening track. It sets the tone for this. Yeah. They've been performing it throughout the tour, and it always, when I started getting tapes in from the collector circles, it was just great vibes. It still is. When you press play on MTV Unplugged, or when I press play, I'll only speak for myself, it sets me up, and I'm sitting put for that whole album or video, whichever one it is. Lonnie?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm shocked that this is not the winner, because I gave it a 30 because I think Coming Home really does set the tone. The acoustic translation is phenomenal. It just breathes new life into a pretty forgotten song. So 30 points for me. I think it's awesome.
Ken?
Yeah, I only gave it 18. I think I should have gave it 20. Because I think the acoustic translation was actually pretty good, and I probably should have gave it a 5.
Still would have won.
Yes, but even having said that, my taste is this song is not one of my favorite songs, so I just knocked it down for that. So that's why it's 18 or 20 if I revise it.
All right, Mark.
Wow, I mean, this to me is the shining. When you go to a dictionary and put perfect score, this is the song that should be there. Coming Home, perfect, 5 out of 5 out of 5. It's a perfect 30. This song, it took a song that nobody cared about, nobody gave a shit about, nobody ever mentioned this song until MTV Unplugged came out and breathed new life into it and became a song that I can tell you firsthand. People that I knew who liked Kiss, that all of a sudden when this came out, this album, they started playing acoustic guitar all of a sudden, and this is probably the only song they knew on acoustic guitar because of it. This song made people buy acoustic guitars. That's all I have to say.
Daniel?
I was shocked they started the conventions tour with this song. I never cared for it. It was very far away from my favorite songs, but this is the perfect performance. And when I heard it the first time, I kind of understood why they started off with this song. Perfect performance, 30 points.
Yeah, it wasn't even performed at the very first Unplugged show in Australia. Weird. All right, which means that the champion is Going Blind on 141.9 points.
Wow. Love it.
I gave this 27.9. I mean, I just don't. There are two. I'm sorry. There's too many other songs I like way more than this Unplugged, and it's a really good song. I love how how Gene reverted to the older form of lyrics for it. His early stuff was very acoustic, so it fits. It works. It already worked. But both this and Coming Home really allow a reappraisal of Hotter Than Hell, because that's often judged with the sludgy production, which works on some things, but not as well on others. This breathes new life into both of these songs. And yeah, they'd been doing Going Blind from Foundation forums, so it was kind of a given that it was going to come back into the set. Ken?
Yeah, Going Blind. On Hotter Than Hell, I liked it on Hard and Hill. I thought it was good, but once they started doing the acoustic stuff, and I know we talked about it like a week ago or so, where Daniel mentioned that other performance where Gene and Paul were on that one show, and they're sitting on like stools and playing the song. It's like, wow, that really brings it to life. This song. So going from the electric to acoustic totally makes the song. I mean, it should be an acoustic all the time, every time. Should have been that way on the on Hotter Than Hell album. It would have worked so well. I just think this song just translates so well. I mean, I give it a perfect score, of course. I just love the song. I think it's the best version of Going Blind out there. Again, it's kind of like Coming Home. People didn't really talk about Going Blind either. These are two songs that no one kind of cared for or didn't. They're just kind of on the back burner somewhere, but they came alive on this. And I think Going Blind is just a fantastic song.
Nice pun, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, this is another song that I didn't care much for on the Hotter Than Hell album. When this was played live, I thought it was absolutely fantastic, brilliant. I think that Eric Singer's drumming on this gave it a bit of an extra boost and spark to it. Gene's bass playing is really good. The singing is top notch. Everything is perfect. It's a perfect score for me on this as well. I just wish that Coming Home would have been first because I think it is better.
Lonnie.
I gave it 24. I mean, I'm not as in love with it as you guys are, but it is a great performance. I gave it a 4 for the translation, a 4 for the band performance, and a 3 because I like it. It's a great performance, but I understand where you guys are coming from with your perfect scores, but it's really good.
Daniel?
It's a perfect score, of course. And I don't think it's, it's kind of telling that the two top songs are from Hotter Than Hell. We all know how that album sounds.
Yeah.
These are the two songs that are most improved from the studio album, Coming Home and Going Blind, because of, the production of Hotter Than Hell isn't up to par. We can say that, but Going Blind translates so well acoustically, and Ken mentioned that thing that he did on Most Wanted, an MTV Europe show. Just the two of them, Paul and Gene, playing that song. That was the first time I understood the greatness of the song, and on the album it's equally great. So I like it as number 1.
Unplugged really breathed new life into a lot of songs on the catalog. You just have to look at the track listing and the inclusions and just to realize what the event really did for the band's music above anything else, above even the reunion. I'm going to only do the two of the wrap-up questions. Lonnie, were there any egregious omissions from the Unplugged release? Because they did do some other songs that night. They did Hard Luck Woman, Heaven's on Fire, Spit, Come On and Love Me, God of Thunder, and a cappella version of Louie Louie. But, from Unplugged, if you had to pick, what are the omissions?
Yeah, I think Got to Choose is it's sorely missed on there, because when I heard that done really well on the box set, I was like, man, why isn't that on there? That's such a great performance. And I think Come On and Love Me. I'm just going to go with my heart and say, yeah, Come On and Love Me should be on there too. You hear that was left off too, and it sounds great. I think those two songs would have made a great album even better.
Yeah, my big egregious omission is Got to Choose. Should not have been a bonus track for only vinyl and the Japanese version, because I'm not dropping the needle. I want to listen to a whole thing without getting up to flip the damn thing over and having those interruptions. I am not a child of the vinyl era. Ken, omissions?
Yeah, Hard Luck Woman, to me, I would have rather had Hard Luck Woman than Beth. That's just me on that one. I think, again, even though they didn't do it, I think I would have rather had New York Groove instead of 2000 Man also. And Forever would have been a good one. So
Peter could have used his woodblock, his tongue drum on New York Groove.
There you go. Yeah, that might have worked.
Mark?
Well, I only have 2 that I think should have been on there. One is Forever. I mentioned it earlier. And the other song that I think that would have worked out really great on acoustic guitar is Ladies' Room.
Ooh,
that's interesting.
That's way outside the box. Nice.
I like your thought.
Never thought of that. Daniel.
I'd like one more up-tempo song. I would pick Come On and Love Me or Mr. Speed to be on the album.
Not Fist Like a Glove?
Yeah, of course. I forgot that one. That should have been there. That's a no-brainer.
All right, last question. Where does MTV Unplugged rank for you amongst Kiss's live albums and the official releases? Forget concert lives and all that shit. For me, this has a very high bar, and the overall score of the album illustrates that. It was, for me, the best live album that I had enjoyed new. I wasn't there in 75 for Alive. I wasn't there in 77 for Alive 2. Alive 3, I was on morphine with a broken knee. See, the firehouse is coming to get me.
Yeah,
MTV Unplugged, to this day, ranks very highly. If I had to take 2 live albums with me, it would be Alive and MTV Unplugged. Lonnie?
I agree with Alive and MTV Unplugged are my 2 go-to as far as official live Kiss albums go. They're number 1 and number 2. It doesn't get much better than the 2 of them. So Alive is first, but MTV Unplugged is a close second.
Ken?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's either going to be... See, I have a affection for Alive 2 because it was my first Kiss album, and I just love that one. And Alive 2, I'm going to have to... I'll just put it as tied for number 2 with Alive.
There it is.
That's what you expect.
I got fun with that. Mark?
No.
Well, I mean, of course, Alive is numero uno for me, but I mean, this might come as a bit of a shock, but I actually really, really, really love Alive 3. So that's always been my sort of number 2 live album. And then after that, I would go with Unplugged. I mean, you can, I think it's good because I love that band. I mean, I loved what they did with the songs on Alive 3. Alive 2 has always been too noisy a listen for me, and I understand why Ken loves it because it does have a sentimental spot for him, and that makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, Daniel.
Alive 1 is, of course, untouchable, but then I'd put actually Alive 3 as in my second place because it came out when I was at the height of my Kiss hysteria, and I love the interpretations of songs like I Was Made for Loving You and Creatures of the Night and stuff like that. Sounds great. Alive 2 I would actually put in third place. I hate the crowd sound on that one. It's not good on any of the live albums, but it's especially bad on Alive 2. And then I'd actually put, even though it's a great album, it's still Unplugged. I like my Kiss Plugged, to be honest. But in fourth place, but I love the album.
Well, we'll see how they stack up as the anniversaries come. You know, Unplugged is a very honest live album, not a very honest Unplugged album as an acoustic with all those amps and cables, but just reality. The cumulative score for MTV Unplugged is 28.07, so we'll see where Alive ranks next month when we do the revisited for that. I'm not going to compare it to the scores of any of the studio albums because it's a completely different kettle of fish. This is a very long show. I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who's joined us live with your comments. It's very much appreciated. And thank you to Lonnie, Ken, Mark, and Daniel for contributing to a very long episode. Hope you got to enjoy the multimedia. But that's it for now.
Job.
Where does Unplugged rank for you? And what do you agree or disagree with what we've said today? I'd love to hear from you wherever you listen to this show. But for now, from Lonnie, from Ken, Mark, and Daniel, thanks for joining us. And we shall see you next time.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10.